Welcome to the Maelstrom tutorial on documenting and disseminating harmonized datasets. This tutorial is intended to provide an overview of recommended documentation for users to understand and analyze harmonized datasets, and to help users understand key information provided about harmonized datasets on the Maelstrom and partner sites. This tutorial will cover recommended documentation of a harmonization project and three key elements of harmonized variables. First, a clear description of data schema variables, where the data schema is the list of target variables to be generated and which serves as the reference to guide the creation of harmonized variables. Second, the harmonization potential, which is the ability for each study-specific dataset to generate each data schema variable. And third, the processing methods, which are the algorithms or statistical models used to generate harmonized variables from study-specific variables. As an illustrative example, we'll use a harmonization project from the ChemPath network, a current partner of Maelstrom Research, which is aimed at studying the biology, behaviors, and environments of Canadians to learn more about the causes of cancer and chronic disease. Comprehensive documentation about the ChemPath harmonization project and the harmonized datasets generated can be found on a centralized data portal created using open source Mica software. The core harmonized data provides an example of project documentation, which should comprehensively describe the scope and design of the project. Here, information is provided about project objectives and research questions, the harmonization study design, population characteristics, including selection and recruitment criteria, and where to find additional information. If we look at one specific harmonized dataset, here the baseline health and risk factor questionnaire, we find additional details about the number and type of variables included in the harmonized dataset. Importantly, information is also provided on the participating studies. You can get detailed study-specific information on design, methods, and variables collected by each study. This type of study-specific information is important for users to understand differences among studies and potential sources of bias. Next, we'll look at the examples of the three key elements of harmonized variables to document. On this portal, we can get a summary of the harmonization results for this dataset. This includes a list of the data schema variables. The first key element to document is clear and comprehensive definitions and specifications of data schema variables, which you can get by clicking on a specific variable. We'll use as an example the frequency of current alcohol use. The Maelstrom standards for data schema variable descriptions include the variable name, a short label describing the content, a longer description including additional necessary information or details on the variable content. For example, here, the description clarifies the time period over which the variable applies. We also have the harmonized dataset to which the variable belongs, the value type of the variables, any category codes and labels, if relevant, for example here, the possible categories of frequency of alcohol use, and any missing value codes, if relevant. Other relevant or useful information, depending on the variable, might include its units, information, source and target, or any taxonomic classifications. The goal is to include clear and comprehensive information on a variable's intended content, format, and criteria for creation to inform usage and analysis. The next key element to document is the harmonization status for each data schema variable in each study-specific dataset. The status is complete if a study-specific dataset can generate the data schema variable, when study-specific data items are identical or compatible with the data schema variable definition. The data schema is incomplete or impossible if the study-specific dataset cannot generate the data schema variable. In cases when study-specific data items are unavailable or incompatible with the data schema variable definition. The status might be undetermined in ongoing projects if the final status has not yet been finalized. Comments can also be added about important factors affecting the harmonization status recorded. It can be useful to provide an overview of the harmonization potential statuses across studies and across variables, seen here for one data schema variable, or for all data schema variables across all datasets. These types of summaries provide a simple and efficient way to visualize the completeness of harmonization across datasets and variables. The final key element to document for harmonization variables is the processing algorithms used to generate each data schema variable from each study-specific dataset which had a complete harmonization status. For example here, for frequency of current alcohol use. This documentation can include software scripts, structured markdown description, or other description of processing steps taken. For example, the Maelstrom catalog supports a structured markdown format to describe algorithmic transformations, which shows mapping of study-specific variable values to harmonized variable values. Comments to help understand the processing methods and decisions can also be added. The documentation on processing methods should allow users who are not involved in the harmonization process to understand in more detail how each harmonized variable was created from each study-specific dataset. In addition to these three key elements to document, information such as descriptive statistics about each harmonized variable might be useful to users. For example, the CAMPath portal provides summary statistics about the distribution of variable values, which can be viewed for all datasets combined or by dataset separately. In summary, the Maelstrom standards for documenting and disseminating harmonized datasets emphasize the need for clear, comprehensive, and accessible information to help users understand and properly use the harmonized datasets. For the harmonization project, it is important to document the project scope, design, data items, and information on participating studies. For the harmonized variables generated, the key elements to provide are a clear description of the data schema variables, the harmonization potential for each study to create each data schema variable, and the processing methods used to transform study-specific data into the harmonized data schema format. We hope you found this tutorial useful. More information about Maelstrom Research's harmonization projects and other work can be found on our website, where you can also find information to contact us directly with any other questions. Thank you for your interest.